Hey everyone, I'm Manero here, and in this video I'm going to show you how to paint an isometric pixel art illustration in Procreate. So let's jump right into it. In order to achieve this, I use the Pixel Art Experience brush set for Procreate. You can find it along with a free mini version for you to try out on my Gumroad page through the link in the top right corner of this video or in the description below. Also for this video, I decided to do an isometric pixel art illustration of my art studio. I just posted an art studio tour video last week on my channel, so make sure to check that out if you haven't seen it yet. First I created the canvas. Since my studio is quite long, I worked on a 380 by 260 pixels sized canvas. This gave me enough room to work horizontally. Unfortunately, when doing isometric pixel art, we cannot use the isometric drawing guide in Procreate. If you try it, you'll see that your pixel lines will look all jagged, and this is not what we want. So we need to create our own lines manually. I recommend drawing lines that consist of 2 pixel-sized steps, like you can see me doing here. As for the height of the room, what I did was to create a new canvas at 90 pixels tall and 1 pixel wide. I filled the whole thing with black and copy-pasted this line in my other canvas. As you can see, what I did first was to draw the full structure of my studio using these simple lines. Then I started blocking the shape of the floor and the different walls in separated layers. My studio has these really cool arches that make the structure of the place very interesting, so I wanted to make sure to translate them well. Every time I wanted to save some time, I duplicated a part that I've already made, and I moved it using the transform tool. I also added this wall in the middle that separates the 2 main spaces in my art studio. I made it into its own layer so that I could show it or hide it in the final illustration. With the main structure of the floor and the walls finished, I started detailing the floor. I did this by detailing a small portion of the tiles, and then duplicating it and pasting it all over the surface. When doing pixel art, pretty often it is very useful to divide big objects into smaller pieces that we can then duplicate and reuse. For example, to do this shelving unit, I painted a single wooden plank. And then I duplicated it to make the whole column. I then added the rest of the structure. With one shelving finished, I could duplicate the whole thing to make the other ones. I could even modify one of the planks to make it shorter and make this thinner variation of the shelves. And by modifying the structure, I could make this short version that only has 3 planks. Next, I painted this bench that I have in the entrance of the studio, which is meant to be used to sit down and take off your shoes or put them back. As you can see, the whole concept consists on imagining each object as if it was a 3D box or cube, except you then add all the details while retaining that box structure. I proceeded with painting the central coffee table, thinking already that I would later duplicate it and use it to make a shorter version with a squared shape. The rest of the process is pretty much straightforward. I continued painting each new object on a separate layer, pixel by pixel, and duplicating parts and reusing them anytime I could to save time. If you are a total beginner and you would like a more detailed tutorial where I explain step by step how to make pixel art in Procreate, then I would recommend you to check out this other tutorial of mine, where you will find everything you need to get started. As for this video, you need to have in mind that the whole artwork took me around 12 hours to complete, so I'm going to let the time lapse run until I have something interesting to say again. I'll talk to you in a little bit. Okay, so now that all the furniture was finished, I could finally start working on the smaller objects and decoration. I started with the small plants. If you've watched my art studio tour video from last week, you'll know that these plants are fake. Also, these specific floating shelves with these plants are not actually placed in this side of the wall, but in the opposite. But I thought on changing it for this artwork, because otherwise we wouldn't see them, and I think they add a nice touch of color with these greens. One thing that I love about working at this resolution in pixel art is that sometimes you really need to think hard about how to represent small objects with such little amount of pixels, like for example, when I did this candle on the coffee table. It's important that the object is still recognizable, and achieving this can require a lot of practice, but it is also really fun once you get the hang of it. I continued populating the scene with more and more objects, all coming from the ones that I actually have in my studio, like the fire extinguisher, some clothes on the coat hanger, a small rug in the entrance, and so on. Again, this is a pretty long and straightforward process, so I'm going to let you watch it, and I'll come back at the end to explain some final details. When I finished all the elements I was able to add into my scene, I wanted to paint some lighting effects. There are several lamps and LED lights in my studio that create this super moody atmosphere that I wanted to translate to my isometric pixel art piece. To do that, on a layer on top of everything else, I hand painted this kind of mask that will allow me to quickly select the content of the layer to only paint in the area of one of the rooms without affecting everything outside the mask. I did this with a red color so that it would stand out more and it would be easier for me to see what I was doing. I did the same for the entrance. To paint these lighting effects, I just used a soft airbrush from the default brushes in Procreate. First I painted a soft shadow area in the further side of the studio from the entrance, setting this layer to multiply mode. And on a new layer in add mode, I painted this soft light coming from the windows in the entrance that we don't see because that wall is invisible. Then on a new layer in color dodge mode, I painted the soft glows from the lamps and the LED lights. Here I modified the walls a little bit so that the lighting matches better the space, and basically continued trying things and adjusting the lighting in the whole scene in general. At this point, I realized that I had forgotten to paint a couple of lamps in the short shelvings, so I added them real quick. And this is the final result. I really hope you liked this video. If you use my brushes and post your art on social media, feel free to use the hashtag #ManeroBrushes so that I can see what you create. I will be extremely happy to share your creations with my audience. Don't forget to subscribe for more art-related videos and give me a thumbs up. Also, make sure to check out my Gumroad page, where you will find the Pixel Art Experience brush set for Procreate, and many other sets and freebies that I have available. I'm sure something will suit your artistic needs. All the links are in the description below. Okay, thank you for watching. See you next time.